Welcome back to the Daily Taoist with Will Nemo. We are talking about the Tao Te Ching and how to get back into spirit and alignment with the way. Today I'll be talking about verse 31, living without weapons. Weapons are tools of violence. All decent men detest them. Therefore, the followers of the Tao never use them. Arms serve evil. They are tools of those who oppose wise rule. Use them only as a last resort. For peace and quiet are dearest to the decent man's heart, and to him even a victory is no cause for rejoicing. He who thinks triumph beautiful is one with a will to kill, and one with a will to kill shall never prevail upon the world. It is a good sign when a man's higher nature comes forward, and a bad sign when his lower nature comes forward. With the slaughter of multitudes, we have grief and sorrow. Every victory is a funeral, and when you win a war, you celebrate by mourning. Living without weapons. The 31st verse of the Tao Te Ching unequivocally states that implements of violence serve evil. Lao-Tzu clearly knew that weapons designed to kill are tools of utility and should be avoided if you choose to live according to the principles of the Tao. This includes the design, production, marketing, distribution, and of course, the use of weapons in the business of killing. The Tao is all about life. Weapons are about death. The Tao is a creative force, and weapons are about destruction. Humanity has failed to learn this profound teaching of the Tao Te Ching, which was written when weapons consisted mainly of bows and arrows, spears, hatchets, and the like. From this position as an observer and being of divine wisdom, Lao-Tzu recognized that there can be no victory in any activity where killing takes place. Why? Because all people, regardless of their geographic location or belief system, are connected to each other by the originating spirit. We all come from, retain, and return to the Tao. When we destroy each other, we are destroying our opportunity to allow the Tao to inform us, to flow freely in and through the form that we are in. What appears to our ego to be a victory to celebrate is really a funeral, a time to mourn. Lao-Tzu reminds us that taking pleasure in winning a battle isn't aligned with an ego will to kill. The Tao has only a creative, nurturing, and loving will. On this physical plane, our highest nature expresses itself through the precepts of the Tao, while our lowest nature expresses itself by engaging in the business of killing. The written history of humankind involves wars as far back as it can go. And if we measure our supposed march towards civilization by the sophistication of our weapons, we have advanced from simple spears used in close individual combat to bows and arrows that kill from a short distance, rifles and explosive devices that execute from farther away, and bombs that decimate when dropped from the air. We have reached a level where we have to invent terms like mega death and weapons of mass destruction to describe our current ability to annihilate millions of people and other life forms with one nuclear blast. The current level of presumably enlightened sophistication means we have the capacity to destroy all life on our planet with the weapons we have amassed. This perilous state has emerged because we ignored the basic tenet of the Tao Te Ching, particularly as stressed in the infinite wisdom of this verse. Arms serve evil. They are the tools of those who oppose wise rule. I believe that Lao-Tzu was not only speaking about physical weapons, but also non-physical behaviors, that they are just as destructive. These include violent words, gestures, and threats that aren't part of humankind's higher nature. If you change the way you look at your world, you must include noticing your language and your demeanor. Do you determine or do you demonstrate that you're a person who values life in all of its costumes? Are you someone who would not take up any type of arms, be they physical or not, against another, unless alternative means have been exhausted? And then so, if forced to endure another, are you able to feel compassion for your so-called enemy? Weapons designed to kill are inconsistent with the very essence of the Tao, and thus you must take every effort to be peaceful and harmonious with this life-giving energy. The massive proliferation of guns in our modern society is a giant step away from humankind's highest nature. So replace defending the right to own and use weapons with the Tao consciousness. Seek instead to aspire to a time when our collective human energy is elevated to such a high status that even the contemplation of killing is impossible. You can begin to do so by changing the way you look at the necessity of having weapons. It begins with each and every one of us, and we can start by taking heed of what the Tao Te Ching teaches us. By making this verse your personal calling, you have the ability to save our planet from becoming a lifeless one. This is what I believe Lao-Tzu is saying to you personally from his 2,500-year-old perspective. Begin to see the use of weapons or verbal weapons, physical or verbal weapons, as unwanted responses. Change your need to defend yourself to a stance of realizing that it is an evidence you're ignoring the teachings of your source of being. Refuse to consider using weapons of violence in any form by noticing your language and abandoning hatred from your vocabulary. Replace defending your right to possess and use arms with an attitude that all deaths from such instruments are signals of detachment from the wisdom of the Tao. When enough of us reach a critical mass in our thinking so that it disallows the existence of weapons, we'll be moving the direction of our world. No longer will we be able to evaluate the planet's level of civilization by the sophistication of our weapons. Instead, the measurement will be on the Tao scale of how well we'll be able to feed and love each other. Then, being civil will authenticate the root word found in civilization. Discontinue celebrating death or violence in any form. Distance yourself from such images of death, or as many images of death as possible, including watching movies or television shows that depict killing as a form of entertainment, along with news reports that emphasize the extinguishing of life. Teach your kids and any children you can to sanctify life. Encourage them not to take pleasure in the demise of so-called enemies, terrorists, or insurgents. All of these kinds of death, be they on the battlefield or an urban street, are an evidence of our collective will to kill. Do not demonstrate hatred and outrage. Rather, teach yourself and others that every victory accomplished with weapons is a funeral that should be mourned. Here are some sensitive lines from the Saint Thomas Aquinas, a holy man who attempted to teach us that Lao-Tzu offered in this verse of the Tao Te Ching. How is it that they live for eons in such harmony, the billions of stars, when most men can barely go a minute without declaring war in their mind against someone they know? There are wars where no one marches with a flag, though there does not keep casualties from mourning. Our hearts irrigate this earth. We are fields before each other. How can we live in harmony? First, we need to know that we are all madly in love with the same God. Do the Tao now. Say a private prayer today for every person you read or hear about who is a victim of killing by a weapon, no matter how distant. Thanks for listening, guys. I know that verse can get a little bit down the rabbit hole. I really don't think it applies to hunting and fishing and gathering, right? If you're using weapons as tools towards self-sufficiency and sustaining yourself, whether you're a hunter, or you hunt for sport, what have you. I really think there's some room for hunting and using guns in a non-violent way. Some people just enjoy using them for target shooting, things like that. It's the whole idea is, if you have to use a gun, know how to use them. Not necessarily make it your first and primary option when engaging. I personally don't have guns, but that's just for my own personal. That's my own personal safety and safety of others. So, anyways, thanks for listening. If you've liked the content here today, please follow, like, subscribe on your favorite platform, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your content. Hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe. And of course, I have my Twitter account, my Facebook, and my TikTok. Not super active on TikTok. But if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, that's the best place. All the links are in the descriptions of the videos. If you'd like some extra help, please consider becoming a member of the All Trews Only Doomer Bloomer Patreon, and I can get you set up, and we can get you into a free, no obligation mentoring call, and see where we can go from there. Have yourself a great and prosperous day. Cheers.